Hello, everybody. This is Jake Stenzer, host of Jake Gino podcast here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, the chef, the father of six, the best-selling author, the G Daddy, Gino Barbaro. Gino, how's it going?
Jake, I'm doing good, brother. How you doing this morning?
Always making it happen, big man. Today's guest is the founder and CEO of natgashub.com, a leading natural gas scheduling platform revolutionizing energy logistics. He has a deep expertise in trading and technology. He brings insights into energy markets, innovation, and entrepreneurship, helping listeners understand how data and digital tools are transforming the future of natural gas. So without further ado, Jay Bhatty, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to join.
Hey, it is our pleasure. Got to be honest with you. I just recently watched Landman, and I don't know if you have actually experience on site at these wells. And if you do, I would just love to hear about that because I thought the show was great.
I love that show. That's one of my favorites, and I wish to keep doing more of those episodes. But yeah, that's one of the things that's exciting, and people get a peek into the industry and what really goes on. And I think it's pretty realistic, at least some of the stuff that goes on that show. Some of it is a little over the top, and there's glamour and extreme shooting involved in some of those scenes, but that really gives you the idea of what it is to get in on the ground, to get out in the field, the nuts and bolts of the oil and gas industry, the roughnecks that are out there. And it's a hard lifestyle, but if you think about what these people do, they literally keep our lights on. And this is what I found most fascinating about the energy industry, even to this day, that these are people that without what they do, you could live without Netflix and Facebook for a few days. But if your lights don't turn on, life as you know it comes to a standstill. And that's what these people do is making sure the electricity gets delivered to the right place. People stay warm in the winter. There's air conditioning running in the summer. And now it's even more important with AI, all these data centers, they need a lot of this energy that's produced. And a lot of it is produced in Texas, a place where the Landman show was filmed.
So, Jay, how did you get into natural gas? I mean, natural gas years ago was the darling, and then it was vilified or demonized, and now it seems like it's a pretty clean, renewable resource. How did you get into natural gas specifically?
Yeah. When I was a kid, I never dreamed of being a natural gas trader. People talk about childhood dreams. I was always fascinated by the world of trading, and so I, saw movies about that, and always pictured myself being in the world of about trading just stocks, bonds, not just necessarily natural gas, but it's about a lot of people expressing their views through the financial markets. And every day, millions of dollars changes hands in the commodity trading markets. So how can you not find that exciting, right? So that was kind of my initial foray into the world of trading, and that's what piqued my interest. And then just going back several years, I was born in India, and I was born in a place where there is chronic energy, electricity shortages. And so that was always at the back of my mind, why these things happen in some parts of the world, and why energy, which is so reliable and necessary, there's a direct correlation between the wealth of nations and how prosperity happens in countries that have abundant supply of energy. And so that was always in my mind. And you put those two things together, natural gas, trading, and now with the advent of technology, people are using data in the field of natural gas trading to gain an edge. So you put all of that together, and it's an exciting field to be in. And with its low carbon footprint, it is the low hanging fruit. You can replace coal pretty easily with natural gas, which is readily available in the U.S. U.S. is the Saudi Arabia of natural gas, and so this abundant supply really gives us, the US, a global advantage.
How are you using data in natural gas as far as making it more efficient? Is it to extract it? Is it to trade it? Is it to deliver it? Where are the data points you're using the data?
So think about the natural gas pipeline network in North America as kind of like the US highway system. There are all these roads that crisscross the North American continent. And the same it is with the natural gas pipeline network. They're all buried underground, most of the pipelines, but they crisscross the network, and there's valuable commodity flowing through the pipelines, natural gas. But the most valuable commodity is the data that's related to the natural gas that's flowing in here. And the data itself is things like, where does the natural gas get constrained? You might need natural gas in New York versus Texas. And so there's all these differences in price. So if you think about, let's say I can buy an iPhone in the US and I take it to Canada, there's an arbitrage opportunity if somebody's willing to pay me more for that same iPhone in Canada, as long as I take into account my cost to transport this phone from here to there. And at the end of the day, the phone itself is just metal, glass, plastics. It's a commodity, just like natural gas. And so, same thing, if you have this data, the cost, the variables, the supply, the demand at one location versus another, and you have the technology to transact buys and sells in the market, that's how you can use data to make profits in the market.
You're talking about infrastructure, and I'm thinking to myself, they're trying to create alternatives such as wind, solar. Doesn't it cost time, resources, and money to actually, start implementing all of this? And this is one of the reasons why these renewables really haven't been able to become, I guess, efficient or as far as cost effective. And how long do you see it taking before natural gas has any kind of, I guess, competition from the alternatives?
Yeah, so there is already a lot of wind and renewables that are being deployed every day. And from my perspective, it's the best fuel source that is the cheapest and the most reliable, and easiest to get to, is what should be used in the market, and let the market decide. There shouldn't
Hmm.
be government stepping in, artificial subsidies, politicians stepping in, or people trying to decide use one fuel versus the other. People should go with what makes the most sense. Some people may decide, hey, a nuclear facility in my backyard, I don't want it. Or people may decide, windmills and offshore windmills is something that we don't want in our community, or natural gas pipelines is not something that we want going over our land. And so once those decisions are made, and let the people and finance and the dollars make those decisions, that's really the best way to go about building your energy infrastructure. And so wind and solar do have these challenges because at the end of the day, even if you're building a solar plant or solar panels, you have to extract the silicon from somewhere. So it's not that the solar industry and the windmill industry are kind of clean. I think is a misnomer, in terms of if you take into account everything that goes into building all the industries. So if you want to compare apples to apples, you got to compare everything from the time the commodity is drilled in the ground, or it's extracted from the ground, and it's converted into something else that then generates the electricity that you need.
So this question you may not be able to answer, but I want to get your thoughts on the U.S. as far as manufacturing and cheap natural gas. Shouldn't we be able to be more of a manufacturing, uh, you know, producer? Yeah, shouldn't we be able to build more manufacturing plants here since our production of natural gas is cheap? And you see, when it was really high during the Obama years, there weren't as many, factory jobs here. And then it seemed as if natural gas came down and all this other different energies came down. Shouldn't that be a player? And do you see yourself and your industry helping us as far as going forward with manufacturing and with data storage and all the different energy place that we need energy for?
Yeah, absolutely. The energy, the molecules, oil, gas, that is the ultimate currency, because you have governments, they can print currency, but you can't print these molecules. As a country, either you have this natural resource under your feet or you don't. And there are
Mhm.
wars being fought when this you don't have this commodity. You can see in Russia versus Ukraine and other parts of the world. And so I feel like the U.S. is blessed in many ways, and one of them is having this available natural resource and using it to our advantage.
How much do we
So,
have? Like, how many years of natural gas do we have sitting under us?
at least 100, safe by to say safely. There's more than that. Depends on estimates of how much there is proven versus unproven. But without getting into too much detail, the U.S. is
So we're good,
the f-
Gino. Let the next generation figure it out.
yeah.
Yeah, but Jay, the other instance is we have 100 years, let's say, proven with the technology we have today to be able to extract it. They did the same thing with oil back in the 70s. There's peak oil. Then you figured out fracking and shale and all that kind of stuff. So it's sort of the same thing with natural gas. I think when technology starts to evolve and we become more efficient and we start using it less, I think those numbers probably wouldn't even get bigger than 100 years. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, and just talking about, what Jake said about the next generation, I actually want people, the brighter minds, the kids who are graduating today, to come into our industry because there are still a lot of challenges that need to be solved. How do you make it
Burn
a
the
lower
canola
carbon
oil. Keep us
footprint?
healthier, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's many different options available, and it depends on what the choice is going to be for every generation. But there is enough opportunity and inefficiency in the market for new entrants to come into our industry and solve some of these challenges.
Well, give me a challenge, for instance, in the industry.
So one of the big challenges in the industry is convincing some of the politicians and whoever it is, Republicans, Democrats, of it's not even a finance problem, it's not even a politics problem. At some level it becomes a physics problem. It's just some things are just not doable. If you take away enough pipelines and wires, I'm talking about natural gas, oil pipelines and electricity wires away, and you convert them to something else like solar windmill, at some point there's a tipping point that physics just cannot handle that, and there's going to be a reliability issue. And I fear, we unfortunately may have to learn from an incident like that where we have a major blackout, and that's something we want to avoid. And so people take things
To
for
let
granted.
people appreciate it because they take it for granted. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, you flip a switch, lights turn on, people take it for granted, and it's almost like you realize when things go awry, that's when you really realize what you had. The grass always looks greener on the other side, but I feel like a lot of it is taken for granted.
You wrote a book. Can you talk about the book a little bit, and what was, I guess, the impetus to write the book?
The book was really written as an educational project. There are a lot of people in the industry that it's meant for. It's got a lot of advanced knowledge, information for traders and technology professionals in our industry. But there are also chapters that can benefit new entrants into our industry. So if you think about people graduating today, they're going to the Facebook, the Netflix, the Airbnbs and building new technology. It's because some of these students, they may not know the problems that exist in our industry. So the book was really meant to shed a light on, to an audience outside the industry, of what are the challenges and what are the opportunities within the industry.
So it's interesting, Jay, as you're saying that, and I'm getting out of college and I'm looking at Airbnb or Netflix, they're sexy. I mean, natural gas is just not a sexy industry, although I would say it's probably a lot more necessary than Netflix or Airbnb. How do you attract that talent to come over to your side of where we really need it? Because, like I said, it has been demonized over the last
Dude, they get paid,
generation.
man. You guys they get that money, right, Jay?
Yeah, I mean that may be one instance, but at the same point, what else? How else are you trying to attract that talent?
You're right. Yeah, in the past, it had this stigma attached to it, but it is actually becoming sexy now because you have Google, Meta, and all these companies are actually coming to energy industry seminars because they're looking for ways to get electricity to their data centers. Because if you think about, how are they going to make money? They got to run more data
Yeah,
through
aren't
their
they
data
building
center.
nuclear plants right now?
Yeah, some of them are
I'm sorry,
exploring.
Jake.
Aren't they building? Yeah, nuclear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some of them are exploring that option as well because it gets them the 24/7 electricity that they need. So yeah, there is a big intersection between technology and energy that's happening right now. And traditionally, technology software has been the sexy field that most people get attracted to because that's where the big money is. A lot of the biggest companies, if you look at it, the top seven on the S&P 500, a lot of them are technology companies, and that's where the ultimate money gets made. But now with the intersection of energy and technology, it's actually attracting a lot of bright minds from outside the industry to come in. Bill Gates is now involved in solving this problem, and he's the technology guru out there. So it's starting to change. And if you want to think about working in an industry that pays well, that generates something to keep the lights on every day, has challenges that you can solve. If you're looking for a moral purpose of why it is the big picture, I do this job, why is it that I do what I do, I go to work every day, you're solving some of the biggest
Just to
challenges
keep
of,
the lights on, baby.
yeah, keep the carbon footprint low. That's if you're looking for
I
a
need some
motive.
carbon. It's good for my hair.
Yeah, if you're looking for that, this is the industry to be in.
Well, it's actually interesting, Jake and Jay. I might say that to me, God has a sense of humor because 10 and 15 years ago, the Googles of the world and the Microsofts of the world were demonizing this kind of energy and saying, well, this is now they're actually saying we need it. So it's actually interesting to me. Like now they're coming into these seminars and these events and going, wow, you guys really weren't great 10 years ago, but we really need a solution. And solar's not really helping out and wind's not really there yet. So we need something that can actually work. So I find that to be very interesting. And now that you're saying all these big companies are movers and shakers that need this energy, it's something like you're saying, this is probably one of the reasons why it's becoming, I guess, quote unquote, sexy once again. In the book, you talk about a framework for entrepreneurs. Let's get into that. Let's jump into that real quick before we go to the short answers.
Yes, I just wanted to say real quick, like people have plans for the energy industry. They try to come up with new ideas, and like you said, the easiest way to make God laugh, tell him your plans, and those plans don't always work out as expected. A lot of the energy projects ended up failing because they weren't planned properly. But yeah, so going into the entrepreneur framework, that's one of the things I was excited about in this book, is because after I launched my business, a lot of people ask me, I speak on seminars at colleges and industry seminars, that how do I come up with my business idea, Jay? I want to also quit my job and start something on my own. Have this passion, but the one big thing that holds people back is it's not having a good business idea that they have confidence in. To quit your job, you have to have confidence in that business idea. And so the big question is, how do I get that seed, that idea? Where do I get it from? And that's where people get stuck. And so they end up, doing what they're doing forever. And some of them actually suppress their dreams. So I came up with a framework. How do you come up with your own business idea? Would you guys like to hear about it? So yeah. So basically, if I ask you, like, hey, would you, if you're a startup company, right, and would you build a product that's like a painkiller or like a vitamin? What kind of product would you rather build, Jake, Gino?
Jake, what would you build? Painkiller or supplement?
Man, I want to build up, right? I don't want to suppress. So I'm going with the vitamin. Okay.
I would go with the painkiller. I want to kill the pain. I want to get rid of the problem right away, Jake. So I'll go against what you're saying. We'll see what Jay says.
Right. So the right answer, at least in my opinion, is the painkiller, because when you're a startup, if I come to you and you have back pain, right, and I tell Gino that, hey, here's the painkiller, and you're like, sign me up so I can get back
You're
to
not
work, get
solving the
rid of
root
my.
problem here, guys. Second order principles. We're not solving the root problem. Come on.
I would say sign you up, Jake.
And now we have the opioid epidemic. Here we go, fellas.
No, I'm going to tell Jake that, hey, keep taking this vitamin for 5 years and you'll feel better, maybe. So if you think about that, people are willing to pay money for painkiller, the pain point that you're solving right now. Sure, some people might pay for vitamins, but they're not getting the benefit what they pay for some time in the future. And so that's the thing about starting your own business idea, is identify a pain point, and that's where your business idea should be. That's where the idea should be born. And the next question is, well, how do I come up with a pain point? Fortunately, pain points are all around us. And if you just look around, anytime you're frustrated standing in the grocery line, or stuck in traffic, or you're on the phone with an operator and they piss you off, and that's where there's a pain point, and you can think about, hey, I can solve this problem better. And when you come across 10 pain points in your life, just make a note of it over the next 6 months in the notes section of your iPhone. And in 6 months, you now have 10 pain points that you personally experience, that you would want to pull your hair out and you would pay money for. And now, once you have these 10 pain points, you can rank them. Which one am I best equipped to solve? Which one, if I ask my friends and family, they'd pay money for? Which one do I have a passion for? So if you ask yourself these three questions, you can narrow down that list of pain points to, let's say, top three. And that's really where you can solidify what is a one business idea that you can solve and build a business around. And there are many examples like this. If you think about how Uber was born, it was because Travis Kalanick was stuck and he was so frustrated he couldn't find a cab. Or Howard Schultz, he started Starbucks because he went to Italy, enjoyed coffee so much, came back here and didn't see any coffee shops around. And Airbnb, the founder, Brian Chesky, he had to sleep on a floor in his friend's apartment in Washington, D.C., and he was so frustrated. It's like, there's no hotel rooms, but there's a lot of empty apartments all over the city, and why can't we use those? So that's how, a pain point, Airbnb was born. And there's several examples like that.
Gino, I'll give him a credit to this because there's a real world example of how this works. And it's the way that Jerry Seinfeld wrote comedy. He'd find these funny little idiosyncrasies out in real life, right? And then he'd take them and blend them in. So it's a very similar methodology. So that's pretty cool. Gino, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, Jay, these are all really massive and large entities. And somebody might say to themselves, well, I can't own 17,000 coffee shops, or I can't build a platform of Uber or Airbnb. I mean, can you give me some kind of other smaller, maybe you can, maybe you can't, but some other smaller examples of people having just small to mid-sized businesses that are really impacting the world, but it's really are also feeding their souls, and they're able to profit from that idea.
Yeah. So I'll give that to you in a second. But just talking about even these companies, right? If you think about Uber or Expedia or Airbnb, any of these companies, right? They're really just software companies. They don't have to own the cars, the drivers. All they're doing is building a software application that brings together all these people in one place. All the hotel rooms and all the airlines, you build an app where you go search for prices. You don't own any of it. All you have is a software platform. Other people, hotels.com, they come and list their inventory on your software platform. So just going back to that, that's the thing to keep in mind is software is very powerful in any industry. And then your question about, what are some other mid-size, small-size industries? So there is actually a big thing happening in the market right now. A lot of the baby boomers are retiring in the next 10 years, and a lot of businesses every day are changing hands. And these are not sexy businesses. They could be lawn mowing company, it could be a dry cleaning company, it could be plumbing, HVAC company. And so a lot of these people who are now retiring, they want to either move the business to their kids, and a lot of the times the kids are not wanting to do any of these businesses because they're not as attractive or challenging or interesting, but they generate a lot of cash flow. And so if you look in the local classified listings of your city, there's a lot of people like that. And these businesses, either they're going to die or you could buy them at a discount from some of these people who are retiring. And in a lot of the cases, they will actually finance the business. So it's called lender owned financing. So the owner of the business will say, hey, okay, Gino, I'll lend you $500,000. As you make money, take over the business, you can pay me back, and then the business is yours 100%. You don't need a bank. So these are some of the smaller, mid-sized businesses to look for.
It's always about the pain point, though, and you have to actually understand the business. I don't think if you have any idea of what the business is, just going out and buying a business, even if you're trying to solve a problem, you sort of have to have some experience in the business. I agree with you. Let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsor. This episode of the Jake and Gino podcast is brought to you by Wheelbarrow Profits, the premier multifamily education community. Wheelbarrow Profits proof is in their results. Their members have closed over 86,000 units. That's over $5 billion in student deal volume. Are you serious about taking your real estate game to the next level? Do you have the confidence to take action? Schedule a call with the Wheelbarrow Profits team today and supercharge your real estate knowledge. Build lasting relationships through unparalleled networking opportunities. Obtain lasting knowledge on how to buy multifamily real estate with intensive training. Gain hands-on experience through their live events with like-minded individuals and industry professionals, all while experiencing the personal touch and family atmosphere that set them apart. Visit wheelbarrowprofits.com for more information.
All right, gang, we are back. Now, the real question, the thing that I'm trying to solve here is I own land, okay? I don't know what's under the dirt, but I do know this story about Jerry Jones. He got this one well in Northern California, printed money for him. It just rocketed, and then he went and bought the Cowboys. is there any opportunity for me to start, getting out a pitchfork and digging in my own backyard and digging up some liquid gold here so I can go buy the Buffalo Bills or something here? What's the opportunity? How do I do it? You ever bootstrap anything like that yourself or no?
No, I haven't done anything like that. Sorry to break your heart there, Jake, but I think that is a much harder business than, people end up, talking about it. They're like,
I'll
oh
roll up
yeah,
my sleeves, man.
yeah, yeah. It's a lot of digging and a lot of blood, sweat, equity, tears, and then if you get lucky at the end of it, maybe you strike it rich. But yeah, so that's not
What about? I'm in
where.
Tennessee. We got wells here. We got natural gas going in Tennessee. Do you know what's sitting under my feet right now? We got some oil over here
in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say you probably had more luck in Texas, but yeah, not so much in Tennessee.
Damn, man. So what do I got under the dirt here? What's the natural resource? What do we got?
I
Just a
think
bunch of rocks.
I think if you break ground and build a data center, that'll probably get you, more successful than actually trying to drill for oil, because that problem's already been solved. But the data center market, if I was restarting my career today and somebody asked me, "Hey, where would you want to be?" That's where all the money is. That's where the next, $1 trillion is going to be spent. And so get involved in that market somehow. That will kind of be riding the next wave.
You're not convincing me. If there's gas under my feet, I want it out. Okay.
Come on,
baby.
You got no gas, brother. He's telling you you're gonna strike
I'm full
out.
of it.
Well, here you go. So you have the gas underground. You build a data center on top of it. You suck the gas out of the ground to feed the data center, and there you go. You're killing two birds with one stone.
Call me. Call me after. All right. I want to take the next 30 seconds or a minute here for us each to take a minute to hate on wind. Okay. I think wind is ridiculous and it kills the countryside. I grew up in Western New York. It was beautiful, rolling hills, and now it looks like this monstrosity of metal tinkering and BS. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous. All right, Jay, what do you say?
Yeah, so I'm not going to say I hate the windmills or anything like that, but what I will say
No, you
about
do.
wind,
It's okay. You hate them. We'll accept it. Not judging. It's okay.
what I will say is it's not economical in a lot of ways, because once you generate the electricity from the
Ugly, doesn't
windmill,
make money. What good is it?
yeah, it's how do you get the electricity to the cities, where it's needed? You got to build those high transmission cables over the country from where the wind blows to, the big cities, Dallas, Houston, New York, and those wires have to be built, and that's a lot of money and investment over several years that has to be done. And then there's also a lot of losses, line losses in terms of the energy being dissipated while it's being transported. And the biggest disadvantage there is
And it looks terrible.
if it's not blowing all the time. What do you do to fill the gaps when you flip the switch? And if you're 100% wind, and if there is no wind energy, you're going to need some other backup, right? And so it becomes natural gas or coal or nuclear, any other reliable backup source. And so it's almost like you can't have wind by itself. You need to have wind plus something or solar plus something.
And it looks awful. Gino, what say you?
Give me a minute because I want to share two stories with you. This year past in August, I was on a pilgrimage in Italy, and I'm driving through my mom's countryside, and she's in Abruzzo and all the mountains. And I look up and I see these windmills.
Oh,
and
God.
to your point, half of them aren't even spinning, and they just look terrible. And I'm like, whose idea was that to spend all of that money? And then the second story,
some ideologue moron.
I mean, like, it was just horrible. I'm sick of myself. There's got to be a better way to be able to figure that out in Europe. The second story is they just shut down a $2 billion plus solar plant in California. And it's just like, back news story. $2 billion. They built it over a decade ago. They completely squandered the money. And it's interesting. Now you have all of that refuse out there. And now, since we've been starting in 2005, people are tearing solar panels off their roofs. Well, where are those going? Those are going into landfills right now. So people aren't thinking of, like you said, Jake, second order consequences where you're doing something now and 10 or 15 years down the road, there's going to be consequences to that. So I think if you want to create a blend, it's fine. And third point, those solar panels, when they build them and you put them out in these beautiful fields, it just looks
It
I'm
looks
sorry.
better than the windmills, and at least if you can get the technology there with the sun, it's unlimited. So like I have way more of a patience for solar because it's unlimited. It's right there. It's you put it in the deserts. It's constantly. I think there's more of an opportunity there. But while we're talking about this, what is the combo, Jay? Like I'm looking at oil, natural gas, nuclear, solar, all that seems, combination of all that seems great, but we got to get rid of the windmills. It's tearing up the countryside and it's breaking my heart. But anyways, what's the best combination here, Jay?
You're really hung up on how everything looks. Yeah. So the
I'm all about it.
combination.
I want pretty women. I want fit people. Okay, it's what it's about over here. Okay, we got a pretty countryside. We're doing okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Unashamed.
So there is, yeah. If you, I kind of think of it as like the four boxes. What is the size of these boxes? And what I mean by that is there's coal, which is kind of like the primary driver, and it's been for decades. And then you have on top of that you have stacked natural gas, and then you have, so those are the two big chunks of the two big blocks. They probably make up about 60%. You have maybe 20% coal in the U.S., 40% gas, and then the remaining would be, the next big thing would be nuclear, and then the smaller slivers of solar, wind, hydro, some of these other renewable sources combined. And so the question becomes, what is the right mix, for the whole country, for your community, for every state? And it's a varying ratio. So the number falls, and it's a sliding scale between any of these. So in Texas, for example, in California, a lot of wind and solar has been growing, but in a lot of the other places, coal's been going down, and natural gas has been replacing that share. And so eventually, where it shakes out, I feel like the coal will go down to zero, and a majority of that will be taken up by natural gas, and wind and solar
Isn't
would.
coal ramping back up in the last little bit here?
Yeah, it's gone back up, and especially in other countries offshore in China, they're actually building in India a lot of new coal plants. But yeah, in the U.S. they're retiring coal plants, and the easiest low-hanging fruit to replace that is natural gas.
Oh, I thought I just saw a reinvestment in coal in the U.S. just recently. Could be wrong. Yeah, I
There
don't
is
know.
anecdotal evidence of new coal plants being built as well.
What's the easiest way for someone like Gino, who's just a real estate guy? Not just a real estate, he is the real estate guy. Okay, Gino's the Dalai Lama of real estate over here. What's a great way for folks to diversify into energy for an investment?
Yeah, the easiest way to do it would be, to diversify is owning some pure natural gas stocks. And when you think about risk, you don't want to buy something that is oil and gas, or some company that does everything, because then you're not getting the risk exposure that you want. If I want natural gas exposure, I'll go buy this stock. If I want technology exposure, I'll go buy that stock, and then I'll diversify my own portfolio. And that's
Your own,
the
got
best.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best way to go about getting the diversification effect. And that's why, you talk about a lot of these energy companies that are kind of getting a lot of heat from the investors, because they might traditionally have been oil and gas companies. They're trying to go into the renewable airspace. And a lot of the investors are like, no, 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 no. We bought your share because we believe in oil and gas. So stick to your core business. If I want some other kind of exposure, I'll go buy that stock. I don't need you doing everything.
You do what you're good at. Let me diversify. I got it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Gino, you ready to take us home here?
Jake, I'm going to share a story of myself back in 2008. I remember when Katrina hit, and I remember what happened in natural gas. I owned a restaurant. Natural gas prices, I don't remember if they doubled or tripled, but I remember it was a significant amount of money, and it really hit my small business. And I remember how it affected me. And over the next couple of years, with electricity prices in New York, through Con Edison and through NYSEG, it got to be very expensive. And I think one of the places where we can see some kind of relief in this country is if we do continue to focus towards the future. We haven't talked about hydrogen. Maybe hydrogen is an alternative as well. Like you said, nuclear. I think we need to continue to invest into the alternative energies. But since we have the other ones that are here, whether it's natural gas, whether it's oil, whether it's coal, why don't we continue to use those, keep life affordable for those of us in the middle class, And for those of us who want to continue to focus in the future, let's build out those little alternatives. But don't just give money to companies and then 6 years later there's a $2 billion write-off. Let's use that $2 billion efficiently. Let's use it to learn about how to make these renewables much more efficient. Jay, where can the listeners get a hold of you? Where can they find out more about you or your company, and where they can buy your book?
Yeah. So just real quick, on that topic, on that note that you just brought up, the quickest way to bring prices down, this just boggles my mind, is that any market, not just natural gas or energy, right? Any market, to bring prices down, you want to flood the market with that product to bring prices down. You have enough supply, that'll bring prices down. And what we're seeing in a lot of the places, at least in the US, is the opposite effect, where they're trying to constrain and not bring the commodity to the market. And that's unfortunately raising prices, putting people out of business. And it just is just, breaks my heart in terms of, we have this resource and we're constraining it artificially, and it's hurting people. But yeah, as far as my book, my business, based in Houston, or
Why would they
company,
be doing that, Jay?
For various reasons. It could be finance, it could be protecting my turf, my job, my industry, my views about misinformed as they may be about, I was talking about earlier, it's not even finance. A lot of people may not know about physics. From a physics perspective, some things are just not possible. It's just the hand we've been dealt by nature, by God. You can't get to a certain level of energy production using this versus that. So it's that's what's constraining the supply.
I hear that. Yeah, I understand that physics piece, because Gino loves Michael Jordan, but he still can't dunk. And as much as he trains those calves, it's just not happening. So, unfortunately.
That's one guy that defies physics.
And Jake loves the Bills, and he wants to be the quarterback, but he'll never be Josh Allen. That's okay, Jake. And I mean, I can't be Jordan.
I still got a small window
Allen.
here. I'm thinking about, trying out next year as a walk-on.
That window, it's like a circular, like 6-inch window, brother. You're gonna be, you can't. That thing is closed. It's got bars on the outside too.
It's all about the footwork, and if I just keep driving those hips through, I might be able to push the ball downfield just like Joshy boy. So,
where can the listeners get a hold of you, Jay?
My book is on Amazon. It's sold 50,000 plus copies. So I'm thrilled about that. But yeah, in Houston, I'm on LinkedIn. People can reach out to me. And I really wanted to say one thing, with you guys, I wanted to actually pick your brain about the real estate industry, because that's something I don't know about, and you guys are the gods of that industry. So hopefully, sometime in the future, I'll pick your brain about it. I was happy to share my thoughts on the energy industry. Hopefully that helped you guys out.
Yeah, we're going to start putting wells underneath all our properties, and then we're going to start selling it back to the local folks, and make it a little additional revenue, right? So.
I think I can dunk before you do that, brother. I think.
Very good. So appreciate you today, Jay. Gang, as always, we believe in buying deals for the long term. Think in decades. I'm Jake. He is the G Daddy. We make it happen. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.